Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Smriti from Team Luneblaze, and I hope you all had a wonderful week. So it's such a pleasure to have you, or have the community of these passionate educators back with us for another insightful webinar on the COPO mapping. A very warm welcome to the speaker and to each one of you present over here. So today's discussion will take us to the crucial component of our last webinar that was based on outcome-based education, that is PO-CO mapping. It is an essential step in ensuring academic quality, clarity, and accountability in our teaching learning processes. So, as educators, we all work towards a common objective to ensure that learning is purposeful and that every student achieves the competencies expected at various stages of their academic journey. POCO mapping plays a key role, in this by helping us clearly establish the relationship between the program outcomes and the course outcomes. So while traditional model often focuses on what is taught in the classroom, POCO mapping allows us to look at a very deeper level. That is, how does each course contribute to the overall program outcomes? Are the intended skills, competencies, and attributes truly being developed through our curriculum and assessment? In today's session, we will explore how effective POCO mapping helps in align teaching, learning activities, and assessments with measurable outcomes, ensure that every course meaningfully contributes to the broader program goal, identify gaps in the curriculum design and strengthen academic coherence, enhance transparency and accountability in the teaching learning process. So this approach supports in the vision of the NEP National Education Policy 2020, which emphasizes holistic, flexible, and competency-based education. So by systematically mapping the COs and POs, we move beyond the content delivery and ensure that students truly acquire the skills, values, and abilities they need in the real-world context. Today's webinar will guide us through the practical steps, tools, and the best practices for implementing COPO mapping effectively, helping us to make the outcome education more structured, measurable, and the impactful. So let's move on to the next slide. Over here, at Luneblaze, we have been proudly partnering with the schools and colleges across the world for over 8 years, helping institutions strengthen their systems of quality and excellence. With a strong foundation in accreditation and educational consultancy, we have assisted more than 50 colleges in building processes that are structured, efficient, and sustainable. Our support extends, across several key areas, from workflow management and faculty training to audits, reviews, and evidence creation. We also offer 24/7 consultancy support to ensure that every institution we work with has access to the right guidance at the right time. At Luneblaze, our mission is simple: to induce quality in education by empowering institutions to move beyond the paperwork and bring meaningful change into their teaching, learning, and evaluation system. So let's move to the next slide. Please allow me a minute. I think there is. Just a moment, please. Okay, so yeah. Along with our consultancy and institutional support, we at Luneblaze also conduct a series of webinars designed to empower and educators like you. So our webinar offers access to expert guidance from experienced professionals who have worked extensively across various domains of NAAC and quality assurance. practical suggestions, actionable strategies for improvement across different criteria and domains, helping institutions strengthen their documentation and processes. And most importantly, an opportunity to connect with a vibrant community of educators to share experiences, exchange ideas, and learn collaboratively. So each of these sessions is a part of our monthly NAAC training and certification series, which aims to make sure continuous quality enhancement, both structured and achievable for the educators and the institutions alike. So moving ahead, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's webinar, Professor Dr. Sreela Dasgupta. Dr. Dasgupta is a seasoned academic and accreditation consultant with over 2 decades of leadership and consultancy experience in higher education. She brings deep expertise in institutional autonomy, academic governance, and NEP 2020 implementation, and has supported numerous institutions in strengthening their curriculum design and quality assurance practices. Her work spans a wide spectrum from NAAC compliances and outcome-based education to credit framework, designing POPO mapping and strategic academic planning. What makes her contribution exceptional is her ability to bridge the policy with on-ground practice, enabling institutions to convert guidelines into meaningful, measurable, and sustainable academic improvement. Dr. Sreela is widely respected for her clarity, precision, and practical approach, helping institutions build systems that are structured, learner-centric, and outcome-driven. We're truly honored, to have her with us today as she shares her valuable insights on POCO mapping and how educators can leverage this powerful tool to elevate learning outcomes and enhance institutional quality. So before we hand over this session to Dr. Sreela, I would take a few more minutes to help you with what all things we'll be discussing in today's webinar. So here we go with this index. So we'll start with an introduction to the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs, followed by understanding the core elements of POs, COs, and PSOs. Next, we will move into the heart of today's webinar, that is mapping program outcomes and the course outcomes, along with the implementation of these through the practical examples. This will be followed by a case study and our question answers round. After that, we'll move forward to concluding this webinar. Before taking a broader view with a quick recap on the NAAC, that is why NAAC is mandatory, and a comparison of old versus the binary accreditation system coming up, we will take a look on how Luneblaze supports colleges in NAAC implementation, and finally we'll wrap up, this complete thing in the NAAC webinar series, followed by another question answer session where you all can unmute yourselves and discuss your question and queries with Dr. Dasgupta. So without no further delay, let's begin with this insightful learning journey. It is my absolute pleasure to now hand over the complete webinar to our speaker, Professor Dr. Sreela Dasgupta, to take us through the POCO mapping and its practical applications in the outcome-based education. So over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for being today.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words of introduction. I'm truly honored, and it's a pleasure to be back again, associated with you all, to join hands with you in uplifting the quality of education in the Indian scenario. Good evening to all my esteemed friends, colleagues, peer academicians who have joined us today on this journey, where we all know that we have one common mission: how to put across the best possible parameters of excellence so that our student community benefits. We had organized a webinar last month where we had started with the initials of what is an outcome-based education? Why do we require an outcome-based education? And we had gone through the preliminary steps. But as a quick recap, I would like to take off from where we had started last time And the whole concept of the outcome-based education is quite recent and is associated with the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, which have been put up by the UN. Of these SDGs, if you look at it, look at number 4, which is related to quality education. That is what is basic foundation for the design of our content, the design of our delivery, and the design of our assessment, to see to it that we provide quality education to the students who are our primary stakeholders, such that education becomes inclusive. That means it is available to one and all, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, geographical presence, etc., etc. And we take all along with us, irrespective of learner levels, and we make sure that the outcome is achieved. Ma'am, if we can just go to the next slide, please. So to ensure inclusive and equitable, equal education for all, equal parameters of excellence for all. And one thing that it is very necessary for us to remember in these trying times, where we all know that the parameters to grade institutions is still not in place, and we are all awaiting with bated breath the BAF as well as the MBGL guidelines. Uh, we must remember one thing, that we are here to impart education, and to remember that education is not something which is confined to the years that a student spends in or college, but it is a lifelong process. And we are here to ensure that this process remains a lifelong opportunity for each and every one of them. Can we have the next slide, please, ma'am? So, what are the key shifts? How has higher education, how has it transformed over the years? The main thing which has transformed, or the basic shift which has occurred, is a teacher is no longer called a teacher. A teacher is rather a facilitator. Now, why have we changed this nomenclature of a teacher? We have always known as a person who teaches in the classes as a teacher. Suddenly, one fine morning, we don't call that person a teacher anymore. We call that person a facilitator. That is because there is uh, you can say, a flooding of knowledge because of technological improvements, where uh, on each and every topic, there is a wealth of information which is available on the web. So where does the teacher's role come? Is a teacher required? Should we say then that a teacher has become redundant? A student can learn his or her own, uh, but that's not the case. A teacher is very much required. A teacher facilitates the student into learn what to learn, how to learn, and how much to learn. And that is how our role has been redefined. And that is how the nomenclature of a person imparting knowledge has changed from a teacher to a facilitator. So the focus is now not what the student knows. Even if the student knows, the student should be able to apply that knowledge. Therefore, the emphasis by the government is now more on skill development. On, you can see that whenever we have to fill up the e-Samarth portal, etc., on the government websites, we need to address a question that, do you have apprenticeship in your college? How many skill based courses do you have? What are the vocational courses that you offer? So it is all dependent now on not only whether the students have the adequate concepts, but they are able to translate those concepts into doing what they will be required to do when they form uh, an important part of the workforce. So whether quality education is imparted to one and all is not defined by the achievement of a single student, rather it is an institutional process. So when we have outcome-based education, outcome-based education does not measure the parameters of a single student, rather it measures the parameters set by the entire institution. Now, when we speak of an entire institution, then the institution should be composed of the different stakeholders. The primary being the student. The student always remains the primary stakeholder because it is a direct connect between the facilitator and the facilitated, which is the learner. However, there are other stakeholders also who are equally involved, like the parents, the alumni who gives us feedback on what we need to change and how we need to change, and the employers. Why are the employers important? Because that is where the student will go and join as a workforce. So the student needs to translate what they know into what they will be able to do when they join the workforce. So there has to be a connect between academics, industry, and the society, because at the end of the day, whatever one learns within the four walls of the classroom has to address issues which may be local, which may be regional, which may be national, which may be global. And like I said, skill-based, so it has to be pertain to the industry, whichever industry the student wishes to join. One more important thing which has changed is 40 years back, when I was a student myself, uh, I had also got my degrees where I never used to think that I would go beyond the uh, domain of my knowledge sector. So if I were a science student who had botany or chemistry or physics, I would study only physics, means pure physics, maths means pure maths, or chemistry means pure chemistry. However, now the trend has changed. Now education is no longer compartmentalized. Now the emphasis is on interdisciplinary. How will you be able to not only map chemistry with botany, or say chemistry with life sciences, but sometimes even chemistry with psychology or chemistry with music. So, it has become not only interdisciplinary, it has also become multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary in nature. Learning also cannot be totally classroom based. It can be a flipped kind of a learning. It can be a blended learning, because learner levels are also different. We cannot be judging students at the same parameter. So it is to be data driven. Now, if we want us to achieve parameters of excellence, we should know what is our target, how much have we achieved in the target, and therefore it is all data driven. Only when we have the data can we take corrective measures. Therefore, there will be continuous improvement. Nowhere in this slide have I ever mentioned, or should any of us ever mention, whether we comply to the government regulations or not, or how to do it. If we are honest, and if we bear the integrity of maintaining high parameters of academic excellence, we will surely follow all procedural compliances. I don't think there will be any problem in doing that. So what we need to do is, we should not shift our focus. We should concentrate on the job at hand, which is to maintain parameters of high academic excellence, and all other things will surely fall into place. Next slide, please, ma'am. Ma'am, can we have the next slide? Thank you. So there are different courses. So a person, say for example, if I have economics, history, and psychology, or say for example, if I have botany, chemistry, and mathematics, I will have different courses, but all these courses together will culminate into only one. How will it transform me into someone who has just gained knowledge within the four walls, to be able to translate that when I go out into the wide world and learn how to apply that knowledge in a real world scenario. So each course which is designed should have a specific learning goal. That goal has to be defined when the course is begun. So, despite the diversity, whose diversity? The diversity of the courses, the different courses that a student studies or learns when he or she is within the four walls of the classroom, uh, the different learners that are there in a classroom studying one particular course, they all have one mission, and that mission is to achieve the outcomes which has been which is expected of the student to achieve when he or she leaves the institution. Now, how will we know whether this has been achieved or not? This we will know when we map the program outcomes with the course outcomes, and that's what we are going to do in today's session. Next slide, please, ma'am. So last time, I remember many of you had requested me when I was taking the on OBE to tell you about, share with you certain books. The first book is by William Spady, and he's supposed to be the father of outcome-based education. He's the person who coined the term OBE. So the first book, Outcome-Based Education, Critical Issues and Answers, is by him. The second is one, Outcome-Based Education, a practical guide for higher education teachers. This is by Dipesh Divakaran. And this, it's more relatable to Indian scenarios. Besides this, I have shared the screenshots for 3 books which are released by UGC when OBE was adopted by NAAC. Next slide, please. So before we begin, I think ma'am had shared a question with all of you on your webinar WhatsApp group, which was like, choose a suitable research design to address environmental issues in the coastal towns of Eastern India. And 4 choices were given to you. You had to identify the correct Bloom's taxonomy. We had dealt with Bloom's taxonomy also last time. So the correct Bloom's taxonomy had to be identified. The correct Bloom's answer to this question is apply. Most of them have clicked, of you all have clicked on apply, though we had certain people clicking on understand, create, or analyze. Now I'll just explain in brief why it can't be understand, create, or analyze. It's not understand because it is understand is a lower level of Bloom's taxonomy. And if I just said explain the different methods of research designs, that would have been an understanding question where you are not applying it on anything. I mean, you are not taking it to the next level. If I had said create an innovative research methodology to address environmental issues, that would have been create. You are not formulating something which is different. You are just picking up something which you have already learned. A, B, C, D, E is what you have learned. From A, B, C, D, E, you are choosing one which is the most appropriate method to address the particular issue of environment on the coastal towns of Eastern India. However, you are just picking up the research methodology to address the issue. You are not interpreting the results. You are not using that method about how to, interpret the data or arrange the data sequentially. There is no mention of any data. That is why it cannot be analysis. Next slide, please. So this was the second question. I don't know if this was shared or not, but this is another question. Interpret the survey analysis on the spendings. And it's good that we have this question now. See, this is a suppose you carry out a survey. A survey can be on anything. Say, in this case, it is on 18 to 20-year-old going to a shopping mall, but it can be on anything. So you have collected the data for the survey. Now, after you have collected the data for the survey, you need to analyze the data so that you can reach a conclusion. So when you are analyzing the data, you can use a software to analyze the data. You can use statistical methods to analyze the data. So this is a question which is analysis. It is not evaluate or create or apply. You are not applying any of the methods. The method is something which is already known. You are just interpreting the data which you have collected. Next slide, please. So there are certain points we should remember when we go into this second part of our POCO mapping webinar. When we start off in this journey of OBE education, we should make sure that we have extremely well-defined program objectives, which the program objectives are the same as the program educational objectives. I'm reiterating once again, just like I did last time, a program objective is broad-based. So a program objective can be the objectives which need to be, which are the goals which are set by the facilitator for someone who is doing, say, for example, bachelor's in commerce or master's in commerce or bachelor's in science or master's in science. So it is a very broad based scenario. That is what is your program objective or your program educational objective. Now, if I have an objective, that means if I have a target, if I have a goal, I should be able to also define what will be the outcome. So if I reach that goal, I should be able to define, okay, once I have from spot A to spot B, this is what I have gained. That is your outcome in that journey. From going from A to B, in that journey, when I reach the end point B, this is what I have achieved. That is your outcome. So your outcome, you can write it as PLO, that is program learning outcome, or program learning outcome will be the outcomes from BA in economics, or say BSc in botany, or say BCom in business management. So it is a program outcome. But if I say BSc in mathematics or BA in history, or if I say BCom in accountancy or MCom in advanced accountancy, that becomes a program specific outcome. Now, each program will also have a specific program, rather, will have certain courses. Courses are what we used to know earlier as papers. So, in my courses, I can have, say, for example, suppose I have BSc in chemistry, I'll have first year, second year, third years. So, in my first year, I can have a core paper, which I used to earlier refer to as a paper. Now, I will be referring it to as a course. I can have it on, say, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry, or say, for example, if I'm doing in BA in history, in my first year, I can have ancient Indian civilization between period so and so to so and so. And then another paper, again, Indian civilization from this period to this period. And then again, once again, say, for example, the next period. And then again, in semester 2, I might have the India during the Mughal time. So from this period to this period and so on. So I have definite courses, which all these courses will come together to form the specific program, and all these specific programs will come together under the umbrella of the broad program. So your program learning outcomes or your program specific outcomes has to be stated right in the beginning, because in the beginning only I should know that what my objective should be when the learner has completed all the courses, all the modules of all the courses. So that goal should be very clear in the mind of the facilitator. Now, if I say this, that it has to be clear in the minds of the facilitator right in the beginning, that means that uh, it is a long-term vision. I can't call it a short-term vision. The program objectives or the program educational objectives that I have, that will reflect the vision and mission of the institution and obviously of the country. It is going to reflect what are the, it will be aligned to the vision and mission of the institution. It will also take the program specific objectives and even the program specific outcomes will take in inputs from the different stakeholders. But the program objectives will take in will be aligned to the vision and mission. So this is how they are. This is when you frame, you should always keep these things in mind and frame. Then only you will be able to have clear cut course outcomes. Then the mapping will be proper. Now, what are course outcomes? Course outcomes is what the students will be able to achieve when they finish a particular course, say a course on ancient Indian civilization between so and so period to so and so period. So when I finish that particular course, what outcomes or what kind of, how do I say, what kind of skills or what kind of conceptual knowledge building will the student gain on completion of that particular course. So between all of these, the course outcomes are the one which are measurable 100%. The objectives you can't measure. Why? Because when you put in the objectives, you don't know whether they can be achieved or not. That you will know only when the student reaches the point B. The student has started from point A. You are at point A. You have set the objectives, the goals. So the student starts from A with your vision of attaining the objectives, reaches point B, and on point B, you find out whether the objectives have been met or not. If the objectives have been met, then you say that the outcomes have been reached. And there should be a method by which you can measure those outcomes, and therefore we say that the course outcomes are measurable. Next slide, please. So what is then the difference between an objective and outcome? An objective you are setting, you as the facilitator is setting, therefore it is teacher centric. Why is the teacher setting the objective? Why is the student not setting? Because in the beginning, the student does not know. The student just know, okay, fine, I will take admission in BA economics or say BA in psychology. So I don't know, I may be knowing the names of the papers, but I am not that, that adept in knowing or understanding the content of each and every course, and therefore the objectives has to be set by the teacher. So it is teacher centric. The teacher wants these objectives, these are the goals, these are the predefined goals by the teacher. However, the outcomes are something which the students are going to achieve, therefore the outcomes become learner centric. The teacher will just facilitate the student to achieve those outcomes, but they will have to be achieved by the students. Therefore, it is learner-centric. So the objectives is what the teacher expects the students to achieve when they reach the final point. That means when they graduate and go. And the outcomes are what abilities or skills or conceptual knowledge the student acquires on completion of all the courses at the end of their graduation or post-graduation. So when the teacher sets the objectives and wants the students to achieve those objectives through proper designing of course content and content delivery, then the teacher has to be very clear on how to plan that content, how to design that content, and how to plan the content delivery. So both pedagogy as well as curriculum design is involved. Whereas in the case of the student, when the student achieves those outcomes, that will depend upon the learner level of the student and the needs of the student. So every student may not want to get skills in one particular course, and that's where your interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary comes in. So every student may not be wanting to achieve exactly the same kind of skills, and every student may not be able to achieve the same kind of skills in the same stipulated period of time. Why? Because every student's learner may or may not be at the same level. Next slide, please. So in the Bloom's taxonomy, uh, you have, if you can see the left hand side, which is your cognitive levels, you have remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And you can see an arrow on the extreme right hand side, and it moves from up to below. The reason why it moves from the top to the bottom is because as you move from remember to create, you are proceeding towards higher cognitive levels. And therefore, the Bloom's taxonomy is also associated with HOTS, or higher order thinking skills. So when you uh, design the course content, when you set the pedagogy, when you formulate the kind of assessments, you cannot be having all three of them the same for UG and PG. You cannot be having the same things for, say, for example, an engineering student and an humanities student. You cannot be having the same thing even between within humanities also, or within humanities in a specific program. You cannot be having the same thing for a first year, second year, or third year. So in the first year, the emphasis should be more on the lower cognitive levels like remembering and understanding. And as you move towards the higher and higher levels of uh, education, then you will be moving towards the higher order thinking skills. I think last time I faced a question where someone asked that what about in research? Research is where you start off with your literature survey. So it is understanding what it is already done. So there also you do not suddenly jump and start with evaluating and creating. You do start with understanding, but you move on very quickly to apply what you have understood into your research problem. You analyze the results, you evaluate what you have found out, and then you design something new. So research is of a much, so the concentration is more on analysis, evaluation, and creation, and very, very less on understanding and applying. So this is what the things which are there on the left hand side. We generally use those cognitive verbs for designing our objectives. Why? Because they are not measurable. You can't measure how much a person remembers, or how much a person understands, or how well a person is able to apply or analyze, or whether what someone has created something, whether it is good, bad, or medium. That's not possible. The ones which are on the right side, however, associated with remember. So you see, one way of doing remembering is the all the words which are next to remember, like say define, duplicate, list, memorize, recall, repeat, or state. Uh, all of them may not be the exact synonyms, but more or less they are on the same parameter. So anything which is of a lower cognitive level falls under remembering, then under understanding, applying, and so on. So all the verbs which are there on the right hand side, they are all action verbs, in the sense that they are all measurable verbs. You can measure. You can say, okay, list three modes of transport. So if I am able to list only two modes and not three modes, I am able to measure that, okay, that person has able to remembers only two but does not remember the third. So it is measurable. So suppose I say defend the arguments put forward by the defense counsel in so and so case, and I give a case for them to study it and to evaluate it, and write down the pros and the cons, what went wrong, what went right, and so on, or what influenced the jury, what did not influence the jury. Now when I'm doing that, then in that again I can measure. Okay, I have listed 5 pros, but I have given only 2 cons. So I'm able to measure. So wherever I'm able to measure, those will become my outcomes. Wherever I'm not able to measure, those will become my objectives. So the objective of setting good course outcomes to have an effective POCO mapping is to have course outcomes, which move progressively towards the higher order thinking skills. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so now I'm giving a very, very simple example, not related anywhere with any of the of our programs, because I wanted to keep it very, very simple. So this is a correlation between what we had discussed between Bloom's taxonomy and the higher order thinking skills. We all know about mangoes. Now all of us have eaten mangoes almost like from when we were babies till now. So anyone can answer the question, which is list 3 common varieties of mangoes found in India. So I just have to remember, okay, fine, it is like Alfonso, it is Himsagar, and it is, say, for example, the Cherry. So I know 3, and I write 3. Now remember, I have written 3, it is measurable. Then I am asked, discuss the specific characteristics of an Alfonso mango and a Dasheri mango. Now I have to understand that these are 2 different types of mangoes. If I think both Alfonso and Dasheri is the same thing because both of them have the word mango after the name, then that means I have not understood that there are different varieties, and therefore the outcome, I have not achieved that outcome. I hope that part is clear. Now we go to illustrate the nutritional benefits of mango. That is an application. I am illustrating what are the nutritional benefits of mango. So I have to think, I'm moving towards a higher order thinking skill. I'm applying. We then go to the next one. See, I have already 3 recipes, of which I can make with mango. Now I want to do an analysis. So I know, okay, fine, mangoes have nutritional benefits. So let me think of 3 recipes which are there, and let me find out of those 3, which one has the best nutritional benefit. To do that, I need to compare all 3. So I need to list down, okay, now this is one more thing which I want to tell you. Most of the times, Bloom's taxonomy level is never in isolation. If I have to examine 3 recipes, I have to remember 3 varieties of mangoes, which means the lowest level. I have to understand the characteristics of each, because of which each will give a different nutritional benefit. So that means it is the second one. I should know that mangoes are associated with nutritional benefits. Number 3, the application. And therefore, I should be able to list them down, compare it, and analyze it, which is examine, which is the next level. So even the Bloom's taxonomy, even if I go to a higher and higher level, that does not mean that I'm in isolation and I can forget what are the lower levels. Then I know that mangoes are used for making pickles. So, and many mangoes are used for making pickles. So now I am supposed to select which is the best mango, which can give me the best possible pickle. Now, you may agree with me, you may not agree with me. So I have to put in my, my defense in support of what I'm stating. Again, it is measurable. And lastly, I'm creating something. I'm making a mango dessert. It can be a souffle, it can be a brulee, it can be anything. I'm creating a mango dessert, keeping in mind that it can be taken by a diabetic patient. Okay, so I hope we are clear that we should move towards the higher order thinking skills, but in doing so, we should keep in mind the level of the study, whether it is UG, PG, which stream is it, whether it is an art, science, commerce, engineering, or medicine, or whatever, management, and what is the learner level. According to that, I have to decide. However, when I go to the higher order cognitive levels, I cannot afford to think of it in isolation. Next slide, please. So these are some specific examples of course outcomes. I have taken one example from accountancy, one example from commerce, which is accountancy, one from arts, and one from science. So in accountancy, like when you are saying interpret, that means you already have the financial statements. So you want to find out what is the profitability versus the efficiency. So you have to obviously analyze the statement and you have to interpret the result. So second one, now all of them, the second one, which is evaluate the impact of an alternative. Now you're not going in with the accounting policy, which is already there. You want to find out an alternative one. So it is of a higher order thinking skill than the first one. Use accounting information to justify decision. Now, if I just said use accounting decision information and list it down, it would have been a lower one. But because I'm saying to justify decisions in pricing and restructuring, it goes to a higher level, because now I'm using a lower level cognitive knowledge uh, in sorry in developing something which is of a higher order thinking level. And then detect and explain red flags in accounts. So again, I should be able to understand that in my account statements, what are the red flags? So I should be able to detect them. I should be able to explain. So detect. So I need to have certain kind of skills to detect, and I should remember. Okay, if what constitutes a red flag. So that is understanding, which is explained, and then propose the control measures. So they can be innovative also, or they can be something which is already being used. So it can be something which is of the highest cognitive level or not. So the last case which I have shown, detect and explain red flags in accounts and propose control measures, is a Bloom's taxonomy, which is, a combination of a lower level with a mid level and with the highest level. Next slide, please. So the next one is on philosophy. So if you can see, the first one is they are comparing and critically evaluating major Indian philosophical schools. So I should understand. Now again over here, see, I can't compare and evaluate unless I know that there are different schools, what are the different schools, and what are the principles of the different schools. If I don't know that, I cannot compare and evaluate them. Then critically assess how Indian philosophical concepts can be applied to contemporary ethical issues. So I should know what are the ethical issues. I should know why Indian philosophical concepts can be used on these ethical issues. Will they help? Will they not help? How will they help? How much will they help? That is my assessment. And using textual evidence, construct with reasoning on debates. This is of a higher order on self and no self. Analyze primary text to distinguish valid knowledge claims over fallacious wording. This is only one. It's not combining different parameters, but again, it is a it's a it's quite a higher order because it is asking you to analyze the texts. So something which is not there stated in black and white becomes a higher order. The highest order is something where you will use all the knowledge of your lower levels to make something which is of the highest level, which is create. The lowest level will be just recollecting and writing down so that it will be stated in black and white. The ones which come in middle are your evaluate and analyze and so on. So can we have the one from sciences, please? The next slide. Okay, so this one I have included from botany. So investigate experimental techniques for ecology in real world context. So I should understand that what are the techniques which I will be using to address ecological issues in real world context. So I can say, for example, I can use the mangrove forests in the coastal areas of, say, Sundarbans, or say, for example, the lower Himalayas, the or say any kind of ecological or context I can take up, and I can do it. Design appropriate methodologies for data analysis. So, say for example, I go for a field survey. I go for a field survey to find out, the impact of climate change on the blooming of seasonal flowers. And I gather the data, and then I don't want to analyze it by methods which are already known, because I feel that the nature of the project which I'm doing and the data which I have gathered do not conflict the traditional cannot be interpreted by the traditional methods, and therefore I design a new methodology, so it becomes the highest order. So this is generally done by, when you have a person doing a PhD in a specific field in botany, generally they use newer methodologies to address such issues. Propose innovative solutions for plant conservation and sustainability. Again, this is something which is of the highest order. Critique the impact in ethical perspective of, so I already know that there are biotechnological advances. So I want to understand, the moral and the ethical issues along with, the advances which science already brings into the modern world of food, plant kingdom. So whether I want it or I don't want it, why do I not want it? Why do I want it? How should I go about doing it? So again, it is kind of kind of a question. So I hope we have had enough examples. So maybe we can go on to you can give a thumbs up to let me know whether you are comfortable going in for the next slide. Great. I think someone has raised a hand, but ma'am, can we have the questions? If you can just jot down your question, then if you don't mind, we can have it in the end. So, ma'am, can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, ma'am has already given a thumbs up, so we can go to the next slide. So what are the principal characteristics of the course outcomes? So course outcomes have to be very specific, because I have a specific paper. Like I said, I have Indians, under the uh, Mughal rule, or say, for example, uh, pre-independence era, or India till 1857, or something like that. So it is very specific. It should be very specific, because you are going to do that in that particular semester of that particular year, pertaining to that particular course or module or unit, and therefore it has to be specific, related to that particular unit which you are doing. It needs to be measurable, because at the end of the day, the facilitator has to know that, okay, these are the objectives which I had stated first, and on completion of the course, they were achieved. So how were they achieved? I can't say they were achieved well, or they were not achieved well, or medium, or whatever. That I can't measure it. So there has to be some kind of a measurement to understand whether they have been achieved or not. They should be achievable. So I can't say that the student will be able to, ma'am, can we please have your question in the end, unless it is very, very important, ma'am, please.
Yes, ma'am, you can have the questions in the question answers round. We can continue with the session.
Thank you so much. So, so it should be achievable. Like, say, for example, I can't have a course outcome which states that the learner will be able to master statistics after the first year. Now, master statistics to which level? Level 1, level 2, level 3, first year, second year, third year, semester 1, semester 2, semester 4, 6, UG, PG, what? I don't know. So if I don't know, it is a bad course outcome, because it can be lifelong also. So I can't say that it is achievable at the end of the 3-year undergraduate program or the 2-year postgraduate program. And therefore, I can't say that it is specific or it is achievable at the end of the program, because the objectives of the teacher will be defined for that program for a specific period of time. It has to be relevant to the course. So I can't be saying that talking about statistics when I'm actually designing the objectives for a pure mathematics paper. And it has to be time bound, obviously, because like I said, it has to be achieved after a particular semester, completion of that semester. So it has to be time bound. So now you have all COs defined. So this, I think, I had already said that we should be moving towards the higher order thinking skills. This is what we need to keep in mind when we design our objectives, because this is the outcomes which we want the students to achieve at the end of the program. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, now I know that the slide is, it is, everything is written very small, and there is a reason why it is written very small. So what we are doing over here is basically, this is a grid that we have. Okay, you can see on the left hand side in the columns, you have the COs written, CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, right up to CO18. So course outcome 18. Basically, CO1 refers to all the course outcomes for all the courses in semester 1. Then CO2, then CO3, CO4, till the completion of the program. So you may have 3 papers in semester 1. So you have CO1, CO2, CO3, semester 1, then CO4, CO5, CO6, semester 1, then CO7, CO8, CO9, semester 1. Then you have 3 papers, 2 papers in semester 5, 3 and 2 papers in semester 4. So, they go on adding. So they are basically the course outcomes for all the papers in all the semesters taken together, not the course outcomes for a particular unit. So you, for a particular paper, you may have several course outcomes, but CO1 is the combination of all the course outcomes for that particular course in that particular semester. The PSO, or the program specific outcomes, which are listed on the top row, are the outcomes which need to be achieved at the end of the program. So they are long term. The course outcomes are short term, the program specific outcomes are long term. So the program specific outcomes can be related to knowledge or application or scientific temperament or communication skills or creativity or whatever, lifelong learning, analytical reasoning, it can be anything. Now, say for example, you have your CO1, okay? You find out that your CO1, which are the combination of all the outcomes of that particular one course, which is there in semester 1, okay? That particular paper A. So there are two papers. Say, for example, there are two papers, paper A and paper B in semester 1. CO1 is the combination of all the course outcomes of paper A, and CO2 is the combination of all the outcomes of paper B. So you find out whether CO1 has components of PSO1 or PSO2 or PSO3 or whatever. Wherever it is matching with that particular component, you put a tick mark. That is how you are putting a tick mark under knowledge and application or climate change agent, or say lifelong learning or ethics. You are putting a tick, but you are not putting a tick on academic writing or on research skills. Okay. This is known as the grid analysis. So each of these course outcomes of a particular course, you are going to map against all the program specific outcomes, because they are long term based, which need to be achieved after the completion of the program. So each of the course outcomes which are
Hello. I think we lost you.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Your video is also not visible.
1 second, please.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Good
sorry.
enough.
Very sorry, very sorry. That must have been technological disruption. Okay. So from where did you lose me? From where should I start again? Should I repeat the entire thing?
We lost you for just a minute, so yeah, you can
Okay.
carry
So,
on.
okay. So what I was trying to say is, we will be mapping. This is a grid. Okay. So we are calling it the grid mapping. We will be mapping the course outcomes which are short term, okay, which are specific, which are short term, which will be achieved on the completion of a particular course in a particular semester, against the program specific outcomes which are long term and which will be achieved on the completion of all the semesters associated with that particular program. So wherever it is mapping, so each CO will be mapped against each of the program specific outcomes. So wherever it is reflecting, we will be putting a tick mark. Now, ma'am, can you just go to the next slide, and then I will, and then you will need to come back again. I'm sorry, you need to do a little back and forth. Okay. So now, if you had noticed in the earlier grade, the last column had the letters L, M, and H written. L refers to low, M to medium, and H to high. So what is a low mapping indicate? A low mapping indicates that the mapping between the CLO, that is the course outcome, and the program specific outcome is between 1 to 30%. Medium is when it is between 31 to 70, and high is when it is between 71 to 100. And how do we get these percentages? We take the course outcome, we divide by the program specific outcome, and we multiply by 100 to get the value. Now, ma'am, can you just go back to the earlier slide? Then I will take the example and explain. Okay, so if you look at CO1, there are how many ticks? There are 6 ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ticks. So you can see weightage of contribution of each course. It is written 6 over there. Okay. Now, how many program specific outcomes have we listed? 12. So 6, which is my CLO, divided by 12, which is my PSO, multiplied by 100, which gives me 50. So 50% is between 31 to 70%, and therefore the mapping is M. If you look at this one, for example, CO5, there are 9 ticks. So 9 divided by 12 multiplied by 100 is how much? 9, that is 3 by 4. 4 will be 25. Yeah, so it is more than, it is about 75%, and therefore it will be high. I hope that is clear how we, you can give me a thumbs up to tell me that it is very clear how this grid mapping has to be done. Then I go ahead. Okay, so the grid, what is the significance of the grid mapping? The significance of the grid mapping is that you have designed a good course content. It's to do with the syllabus design. You have mapped your COs against your POs. So the content that you have designed is good. It meets all the parameters of OBE. So it generally, we don't prefer it to be in the low scale. We want everything to be in the medium and high. It can't be all high either. Why? Because from first year itself, you cannot be giving them research skills. That's something abnormal to dream of. So if it is a UG program, and therefore everything can't be in the high sector, but it will be good if they are there in medium and high. If it is not, I need to rethink how to redesign the content. Can we have the next slide? I think that is already done, so you can move forward to the next one. Okay, so the first step we have already done. We have designed the content. After designing the content, we have done the grid analysis. We have got medium and high. That means the first step has been achieved. We have defined our objectives. We have defined what the outcomes need to be achieved. We have designed it in such a way that the grid mapping is good. We are getting mediums and highs, and therefore, as far as content designing goes, we have achieved our target. So we go to the next one, which is content delivery. So next slide, please. Okay, so when I want to, now I have designed my content. I know that I have designed my content well because the grid mapping is good. Now I have to deliver that content because it has to go from the facilitator to the learner. Now, when it goes from the facilitator to the learner, then in that case, it has to reach. It doesn't matter if I know everything, but it has to reach you. So if it has to reach you, I have to employ a tool which will be in alignment with the course outcomes. And remember, all course outcomes are in alignment with the Bloom's taxonomy levels. So I cannot be using the same pedagogical tool for each and every course outcome which I want the student to achieve, because it is related to different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So when will I adopt a lecture? When I want the concepts to be cleared, when I want them to understand. So when they are of the lower cognitive levels, I will use lecture. When will I do surveys? When I want them to collect the data, analyze. So I'm moving forward to a higher order thinking skill. When do I want them to do PBL or problem-based learning? When I want them to create, propose a higher order, much higher. When I want them to collect the data, it will be a field visit. When I want them to present something and defend something that they are doing, I will adopt a case study. When I want them to collaborate and to share the ideas, then it will be think, pair, share. It will be a group discussion, or it will be a gamification. So what kind, these are just some of the examples which I have listed. Depending upon your course, depending upon your learner level, depending upon your BT level or your Bloom's taxonomy level, you have to adopt the correct pedagogical tool. So then only will the student be able to achieve the outcome. Otherwise, it will be difficult for the student to achieve the outcome. Can we have a thumbs up if this is clear? Great. So we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so now once we have done this, now we need to find out how many hours are we spending for a particular course outcome. How will we do that? Say, for example, so we have a grid like this, okay? In that grid, we will write down, for a particular course, say, for example, modern Indian history. So we have, in that paper, we have 5 course outcomes. So we write down CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, CO5. And then in the second one, we define it. So CO1, maybe define the terms enthalpy and entropy. Now, it can be anything. I have purposely kept it from the lower cognitive levels to the higher cognitive level. So the next one, BT level, is BL1 because it is remembering and understanding. So it is BL1. It is remembering. So defining the terms enthalpy and entropy, which comes under thermodynamics. So we go to CO2, which is explain the classification of the periodic table on the basis of electronegativity. So that comes in connection with understanding. So it is of the next level of Bloom's taxonomy. Then it comes apply the concepts of hybridization to predict the shape of organic molecules. So it goes to the next level, which is BL3. You are applying the knowledge. Then you are drawing the structure of organic compounds using IUPAC rules. So it goes to the next level, which is analysis. So it goes to BL4. And then finally, based on different organic reaction mechanism, propose the retrosynthesis of the following target molecule, which is creating, which is the highest order of cognitive level, which is BL5. Now, each of these CO1s will correspond to a specific program, specific outcome, which is already defined for the program. So it will correspond to, say, for example, the first one may correspond to PSO1, which is knowledge. The last one, CO5, may correspond to research skills or something like that. So I have not written down which PSO1 because it will now depend, or depending upon what it is. So it will be PSO3 or PSO1 or PSO6 or whatever. You write it down over there under the corresponding relevant program outcomes. And then the total hours which are spent in giving that content delivery. It can be like, say, for example, CO1, you spent 1 hour, CO2, you spent 2 hours, CO3, you spent 2.5, and so on and so forth. So you write down the total number of hours which are spent in uh, delivering that content. Can we have, if this is clear, we go to the next one, because the next one is related to this one. So now the last one was number of hours per course outcome. This time it is number of hours per program specific outcome. So last time it was short term, now it is long term. Okay. So the first column is your PSO number, that is your program specific outcome number. So it can be PSO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Then comes your CO number. Now your PSO1, if you look at the grid mapping, ma'am, I'm sorry to trouble you, but can we just go back to the grid, please, just for 1 minute? Yes. So if you can see under PSO1, see everyone is corresponding, CO1 to right up to CO18. Okay. So it may or may not be, like in this example, it is tick, but all may not correspond. So what I want, ma'am, we can go back to the final slide which we were showing. What I want you all to do is, for that particular PSO, write down all the COs with which it corresponds. So PSO1, say for example, corresponds to CO1, CO2, CO3. PSO2 corresponds to CO2, CO3, CO4, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then you write down what you had done last in the previous slide. Hours spent on each course outcome. Last time you had done for CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4. Okay. So now you are going to do, for CO1, you spent 2 hours. For CO2, you spent 1 hour. For CO3, you spent 4 hours. So like that, you write down XYZ refers to the number of hours spent for CO1, CO2, and CO3. So total number of hours spent. So total number of hours will be X plus Y plus Z, which will give you a value. So 2 plus 3 plus 4 is equal to, say 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. Okay, so you have 9. Now, when you are designing the course content, if you remember, whenever we design the course content, before each against each module, we write down total number of lectures allocated, say 15 or 10 or 5 or 2 or whatever. So that is the total number of hours assigned. So let's say, for example, you have spent 9 hours and you have been assigned 12 hours. So the percentage mapping will be 9 upon 12 into 100. Or you have been assigned 12 and you have spent 12. So it will be 12 upon 12 into 100. That is 100%. Now I know someone will definitely ask me, what if they spend more? 13 out of 12 into 100. 13 upon 12 into 100. Ideally, it should not happen, because whenever we go to the class, we need to have a proper lesson plan, keeping in mind the learner level. So if we have been assigned 12, we need to complete by 12. If we don't, that means we have diverse learner sets which we need to cater to in terms of remedial teaching or bridge courses or whatever. And then we go to the last one, which is mapping level, which can either be 0, 1, 2, or 3. Now, what is that? Let's say, for example, you have PSO1. Okay, PSO1 is, say, for example, environmental issues. Neither CO1 addresses it, nor CO2 addresses, nor CO3 addresses. Okay, so in that case, the mapping level will be 0, which is very, very unlikely, does not happen. Like, say, for example, suppose it is environmental issues, only say, for example, PSO1 is understanding the environmental concerns in the western regions of western coastal belt of India, and the impact it has on the marine aquatic life, and the measures to, the propose measures to counter it. So that is the outcome which we want to be achieved. That is your PSO1. So your CO1 may address the environmental concerns. Your CO2 and CO3 addresses how it affects the marine aquatic life, but none of them address what are the measures. Therefore, the level of achievement out of 3, 2 are addressed, so it will be mid-level, that is 2. If only 1 is achieved, then it will be lower level 1. If all are achieved, then it will be 3. Is it clear how we do the mapping level? We define the entire program specific outcome. The program is specific outcome will be something which will be very broad, because it will be at the end of the program, which is after a 3-year period. And we see all the course outcomes which are conforming to that program specific outcomes, and we find out of all the course outcomes, how many of them. So for example, there are 6, and all 6 of them conform to PSO1. So high level of mapping, so I'll put 3. But say, for example, only 3 map to PSO1, the others don't, then it will become 2, mid-level, so on. So that outcome is achieved. The level of mapping at the end of the program is only mid-level. I can't see any thumbs up, so I don't know whether this is clear or not. This is not to do with the grid mapping. This is where you are trying to find out how much the students have been able to achieve. This has got nothing to do with your content design. You have already designed your content. You know you have designed your content well. You know that that the course outcomes are mapping with your program outcomes. This you will come to know from your assessment. This is the base of your assessment. Okay, so now I can see quite a number of thumbs up coming. So can we go to the next slide? Okay, so when you do your assessment, then you have to remember certain things. You had framed your objectives keeping in mind the vision and mission. Your outcomes, the program specific outcomes, you have done in alignment with your stakeholder inputs. The stakeholders can be your alumni, can be the employers, the primary stakeholders, the students, and the parents. The course outcomes has to be framed in alignment with the inputs of the board of studies. The content delivery has to be in alignment with the Bloom's taxonomy level. What about your assessment? Now, your assessment has to be in alignment with your course out, because you want to measure your course outcomes, okay? So it has to be in alignment with your course outcomes. Now, your assessment can be only semester end exam, can be only continuous assessments, can be only practical, which is there in case of PhD research, or it can be a combination of semester end exam and continuous assessment, or it can be a combination of semester end exam, continuous assessment, and practicum. It can be a combination of all 3. So for this, find out whether the assessment, map the assessment with the course outcomes. We need to map the course outcomes with the respective units on a question paper. And we have to indicate the course outcome for each question in the question paper. I'll give you examples just to clarify. Next slide, please. Okay, so now these are just some, how will we map the course outcomes with the assessments. So if the Bloom's taxonomy level is just to remember and understand, so the questions which you should generally ask is like definitions or explanations, like state 3 principles of Gandhian philosophy. Suppose it is to do with apply, then you the questions should be related to case studies or to problems, solving problems. So Solve the given quadratic equation with the following values. Suppose it is analysis, then interpretations, comparisons, evaluations. Based on the data collected of a random sample of 13 to 16-year-olds, find out the effect of unstable domestic environment on mental health. If you have to do evaluate, then you have to reason because there has to, you have to write down the pros and the cons. So you have to assess the environmental implications of indiscriminate destruction of forest cover for urban growth. And if you have to create, then the questions which should come are design, synthesize, formulate, etc., etc. So you can say like planned a landscape terrace garden with perennial plants. So these are just a few examples which I have listed so that you can understand that you cannot be asking the same type of questions to address different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Because if you do that, you will not be able to assess the outcome achieved. Can we go to the next slide, please? So what do? We take the question paper. Okay, next slide, please, ma'am. Yes, we take the question paper and we map it with the Bloom's taxonomy level. So say for example, we find out, like say for example, we have the first question, which is an application question. So we write down this question is on application, this question is on analyzing, this question is of understanding, evaluating, remembering, and so on. So this is how we map the question paper with the Bloom's taxonomy level. Again, remember that at a lower level, first year, semester 1, there should be more of remembering and understanding questions and less of creating and evaluating. No questions of creating and very little of evaluating. Or say, for example, analysis. As you progressively move towards the higher levels, the number of questions pertaining to remembering and understanding should lessen and the others should go on progressively increase. Next slide, please, ma'am. Now that we have mapped with the Bloom's taxonomy, we are going to map the question paper to the course outcomes. From where are we going to get the course outcomes? Those we have when we had made the course content. This is what I want the students to achieve. So like question number 1, which has A, B, C, D, E parts, is pertaining to course learning outcome 1, where I want the students to illustrate the behavior. At the end of the course, I want them to illustrate the behavior of real gases and measure the properties of liquids to solve real life problems like liquefaction of gases, treatment of oil spills, use of motor oil and lubricants. Okay, so question number 1 pertains to this. Next slide, please. So just like that, I can have question number 2, which is pertaining to ClO2, or I can have question number 3, which pertains to ClO3. So for each question of your question paper, you have to map it to the Bloom's taxonomy level. You have to map it to your course outcomes. Next slide, please. When once you do that, you will be able to calculate the attainment score. Now, the attainment score is calculated on the basis of 2 parameters. The first is called the direct assessment, and the second one is called indirect assessment. Now, the direct assessment score comes from, like I said, you can do the assessment, semester end exam, CIA, practicum, whatever. So, whatever modes you are using, from all that, you get your direct assessment. Let's say, for example, your assessment pattern consists of 60 marks from semester end exam, 40 marks from continuous internal assessment, and 50 marks from your practicum. That means a student will be assessed on the basis of 60 plus 40 plus 50. So in total, it will be 150. Okay. You will be setting a threshold value. That threshold value depends upon you. Now, the threshold value can be low, can be medium, can be high. A low value is the lowest value which you can set is 40%, a medium value 50%, and a high value of 60%. Okay. Now, I'll discuss threshold values with you later on. Let's say you decide a threshold value of 60%. So all students in your class, say in your class you have 100 students. So all students in your class, which comprises of 100 students, who get 60% and above in that particular course, in that particular semester, you say have attained the outcome. Which outcomes? The course outcomes which you have specified for that particular course. How will you calculate that attainment score? The attainment score will be 60 semester end exam divided by 150. What is 150? 60 plus 40 plus 50 multiplied by x. I'll tell you later what is x, plus 40 upon 50 into y. I'll tell you what is y, plus 50 upon 150 into z is equal to d. D is your direct assessment. This is one part. The second part is your indirect assessment. Now, your indirect assessment can come from two sources. One is your course exit feedback. That means on completion of the course, you take a feedback from your students. And the second is your program exit feedback. That means at the end of the 3-year program or 5-year program, you have a program, exit feedback of the program. So from two sources you are getting. From both those sources, whatever you compile, the survey which you compile, that will be your program exit feedback. Okay. Now the survey you can conduct either on a scale, linear scale of 5 or on a linear scale of 10. Generally, a scale of 10 is preferred. So any score or above 5.5 and above is counted. Anything below 5 and 5.5 is not counted, and the average is taken, which is your indirect feedback, or I. So the overall attainment is 0.7 multiplied by D, the direct assessment score, plus 0.3 into I, which is your indirect assessment score. Next slide, please. So how do you determine your threshold values? What is a threshold value? Threshold value, like I said, is the minimum value which is required to calculate the threshold value is something which is required to calculate the attainment score. And if you get any student who gets equal to or greater than the threshold value is said to have achieved the outcome. So it measures basically the minimum level of, it represents the minimum level of performance. So it measures the outcome. So your threshold value, does it need to be fixed? No. There are 3 types of threshold value that you can have a threshold value which is fixed, where your threshold value for all the courses in all the semesters across all the programs is the same. So it is fixed. Or you can have a threshold value depending upon the type of the course. So say, for example, something to do with mathematics has a lower threshold value than something to do with, say, for example, humanities, say, for example, history, or so you can have it depending upon, or it can be within the program. So first year differing from second year. So you can have depending upon the course types. It can be on the difficulty level of the assessments. You can vary it according to the difficulty. So if you are doing everything based on case study or problem-based learning or something of that sort, then the assessments need to be different. It can be program level. So a UG level course assessment and a PG level course assessment need not be the same. It can be on the basis of the student intake quality. So if you get all the very high caliber students, then you can set a very high parameter of threshold value. But say, for example, you are catering to the lower, very lower strata, students from very lower strata, where they are underprivileged, or they they don't have that much of understanding of concepts, then in that case, you can keep a lower level of threshold value. So it all depends upon what you want to do. Can you just excuse me for 1 minute? I'll just shut the door and come. There's too much of noise. Very sorry. So the student intake quality, the program level, the Bloom's taxonomy level. So you cannot be having the same threshold value when you are assessing, say, create or evaluate with something which has to do with remembering and understanding. So uh, you will have to do it differently. So what is the justification? Because it is no longer teacher centric, it is now student centric. So it has to be according to the needs of the student. It allows you to improve continuously. So say, for example, you started with a set of students who were capable of achieving only 40%, but over the years they have improved. You can always raise the bar, you know. So from 40 to 50 to 60 and so on. And it allows academic flexibility in designing the content, in designing the assessment, in designing the delivery and so on. So next slide, please. So like I said, fixed, variable and hybrid. Hybrid is when you have a mixture. You know, fixed is when everybody is has the same threshold value. Variable is when you are changing it as per the course, as per the level, as per the student quality. So everything, according to everything you are changing. Hybrid is when you are keeping some of the parameters constant and some are changing. So the best is hybrid, because if you see, in hybrid, it is either moderate or high, whereas in fixed and variable, it is a combination of high and low or limited or moderate. So standardization is easier for hybrid, it is moderate. It is high, obviously, in fixed because everything is standardized over there. Hybrid, moderately standardized. Variable is low because everywhere it is flexible. Academic flexibility will be moderate in case of hybrid, but it will be very high in variable because it is totally learner centric. So it will academic flexibility will be very, very high. But you have to continuously update the data that you have so that you can't have it fixed. Like today, if you have, it is variable. So today, if you have 40%, tomorrow you may want to make it 45 or 55 or whatever. So the administrative ease will be very, very low in case of variable, will be very high in fixed because it is once and for all you are doing it, but it will be moderate in case of hybrid. Stakeholder clarity, obviously no one has to understand anything in case of fixed. Variable will be moderate. Again, in hybrid, it will be high. And continuous improvement is not at all possible in fixed, but it is very high in both variable as well as hybrid. Next slide, please. Next slide, Pam. Okay, so now how do we calculate the course attainment? So you select a particular course in a particular semester of a program. And then you prepare a grid like this. I've just shown for question number 1 and 2, but you can have 3, 4 and so on. So like question number 1, I have not put the subdivision. So question number 2 will have A, B, C. So you have to total up for the values for A plus B plus C. So then and then in see the first column, it is the roll number of the students. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. So question number 1, they have got first student has got 11 marks, second student has got 9 marks, third student has got 5 marks. So we set a threshold value, say 8%. So let's say, for example, 60% we set as the threshold value. And so 9 students out of a total of, say, total marks are 15. So 9 becomes your threshold marks. Total students appeared is 60. Now students who have scored equal to or greater than 60% are 52. So we find out the percentage of students who have achieved the outcome. How do we do that? 52 upon 60 into 100. So 86.66%. Then we took the question paper and we mapped, right? So question number 1 pertains to CO1, CO2 and CO4. And then what we do is CO1, CO2 and CO4 with PSO1, what is the level of mapping? So it will either be 2 or 3 or 1. Is it clear? Likewise, we will do for each and every question of for this particular course. And then we will do for all the courses. Is this clear? Thumbs up, please. Then we go on to the next one. Okay, great. So we go to the next slide. Next slide, please, ma'am. Okay, so now we calculate. So your assessment for course from semester end exam. How do we do it now? Look at the first column, which is CO. So your COs can be CO1, CO2, CO3, and so on. So your question, CO1, you have mapped your question paper according to your course outcomes. So your CO1 may be coming in question number 1, in question number 2C, in question number 3B, and so on. What is the average percentage of students who have achieved the threshold value? So for question number 1, it was 82. Question number 2C, it is 78. Question number 3B is 51. So you find out the total average, which comes to 70.33. Likewise, you do for CO2. Likewise, you do for CO3. So you get 70.33, 69.55, 81. You are finding out you are measuring the course outcomes for each of the COs, CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, and so on. So then what do you do? 70.33, look at the first line in the row, 70.33 into 2. What is 2? 2 is the level of mapping, plus 69.55 into 3, plus 81.67 into 2, divided by, what are you dividing by? 2 plus 3 plus 2, which is equal to X percentage. So then this we have to repeat for continuous internal assessment and practicum in a similar manner. Once we do that, then we will get a final value of this X. So this X for first paper, this X for second paper, this X for CIA, this X for practicum, we will get like that. And then we will do 60 by 150. What is 60? Semester end exam by 150, which is the total number of marks, multiplied by X. X will be the average of paper 1 and paper 2, course 1 and course 2, plus 40 by 150 into Y, which is my continuous internal assessment, plus 50 by 150 into Z, which is my practical, will give me my direct assessment. Now, just like I'm doing it for PSO1, I'm supposed to do it with all the PSOs with which my CO1, CO2, CO3 are mapping, and then take an average, and then it comes to X. For one paper, and then similarly it will come for another paper, and similarly it will come for as many papers as I have for that particular semester. So I'll get a cumulative value of X, which I have to multiply with the semester end exam. Is it clear? Thumbs up, and then we go to the next slide. So your thumbs up is my outcome achieved. Okay, so we go to the next slide. Okay, so now we go to the indirect assessment, which is my survey responses. I told you it can be in a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So now the questions which I design for this linear scale has to be in alignment with the course outcomes for that particular course. So it can be for CO1, CO2, CO5, CO6, and so on. And then I have to convert into a percentage. Okay. So I have this linear scale of 5. So till 3, I will be considering. Okay. Because it is 5.5 out of 10. So it will be 3 out of 5. So up to 3, whatever scores whoever has given me A, B, or C. A is strongly agree. B is, say, for example, at the end of this course, the student will be able to calculate the values of X and Y in a quadratic equation. Is the achievement, is the outcome which I want to be, which I want the students to achieve. So if the students is strongly agree, it becomes A, moderately agree becomes B, C is satisfactory, D is below average, and E is poor. So I'll not consider D and E. Responses D and E will not be considered. So 28 people have said A, 20 people B, and 2 people have said C. Total average of A plus B plus C. So 28 plus 20 plus 2, total number of students are 50. 50 of them have given me 3 out of 5. So 50 upon 50 into 100 is 100%. Now look over here. 24 have given me very good, excellent. 18 have given me very good. 6 have given me good, and 2 have given me satisfactory. So I'll not consider this. So I'll have only 48. So 48 upon 50 into 100 is giving me 96%. And therefore, I have to take an average of this entire thing, which is giving me 98.66, which is my average indirect assessment. Now, can we go to the next slide, please? So, say for my course is physical chemistry. So, from my direct assessment, I get 71.34. Indirect assessment, I get 98.66. So, 0.7 into 71.34 plus 0.3 into 98.66 gives me 79.54, which is my attainment score for physical chemistry in semester 1 UG program. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, I told you that your program objectives are long-term. Your program-specific outcomes are also long-term at the end of the program. Therefore, what I need to do is I need to find out the course outcomes for each course in a particular semester, in a particular year, and then over the years, over all the semesters for a particular batch. So let's say, for example, it's a 5-year program. So then I will have total of 2014-15 is this much, this much, this much, this much, this much, and I'll get an average for all 3. So then I will plot a graph. So 2014-15 is 72.42, 15-16 is 69.55. See, I'm getting from here. And 16-17 is 70. So I plot a graph and I get a line. This line is my attainment analysis. So if my score is between 1 to 20, it is poor. Which score? This score which I'm getting, this one. If this score is between 1 to 20, it is poor. 21 to 40 is low. 41 to 60 is average. 61 to 80 is substantial. And 81 to 100 is very high. So this one, this line will tell me what I need to do. Next slide, please. So what do I have to analyze? I have to, this is which is what I had referred to in the one beginning as revision. I have to analyze my graph. Whether my graph is a straight line, whether it is a line which is going down, whether it is a line which is going down and coming up, or whether it is a line which is going up, up, and up. So when I analyze that, so what I do is first I plan I set my objectives and I set my outcome and I design my content. So I plan, which is P, I design and develop, which is D, I deliver, and then I check. What do I check? I check through my assessments whether the outcomes have been achieved or not. That is my attainment score. I analyze, I plot the graph, and then I assess the entire thing once again. And then I review, and then I decide whether I need to adopt any corrective measures. If I have to adopt any corrective measures, I adopt it and I go on to the next stage to better my parameters of academic excellence. So what are some of these measures? I increase the level of assessment. I reassess the mode of content delivery. I redesign my content. These are some of the ways in which I can adopt to increase the levels of academic excellence. What do I do then? I whatever After I do the PDCA, the complete cycle, I discuss with the stakeholders in the board of studies, in the IQAC. I discuss with them. I decide along with them which are the parameters which I need to adopt so that I can, whether I need to revisit the mode of assessment, whether I need to employ modern technology tools for content delivery, or redesign the content. I look at all these parameters and I implement the necessary corrections in the upcoming academic session. And that is how this process of academic excellence is always a process in continuum. If we conform to it, we need not be bothered about anyone. We are true to ourselves, we are honest to ourselves, we are delivering to the best of our abilities. Next slide, please. So this is a small case study for you all. You can type and you can put it, and ma'am can probably tell me between graph 1, 2, and 3, which do you think is the best graph? So quickly you can type 1, 2, or 3 and put it in the chat box. So we already have an answer. Okay. So if we get all correct answers, that means all objectives have been attained. Okay. I think quite a few of you have answered. While the others are still thinking, you can still go on posting your answers. Okay, because nobody has answered number 2. So I begin with number 2. Number 2 is showing a consistent drop in the attainment score. It is not at all good, because you cannot be having a consistent, that means there is something wrong in either your content design or your mode of delivery or your assessment. Somewhere there is some kind of a mismatch, because of which your attainment score is going down, down, down. Okay. What about, many of you have answered 1 and many of you have answered 3. I think it is a 50-50 ratio. 1, by the looks of it, is excellent because you are not going down, you are maintaining your level. But always remember, whenever you maintain your level, you cannot be complacent, and you cannot, tomorrow if I get a 4 out of 4 in my NAAC accreditation, I cannot become complacent and say, okay, fine, I've got the highest score possible, so I'm just going to rest and be happy with my score of 4.0. What is going to happen? There will come a time when I will slip from 4 to 3.95 to 3.90 to 3.89 to 3.85 and so on. So 1 indicates complacency. It indicates that the level of my students are very good. Therefore, I need to reassess. If I have a set of 100 students and all 100 students are getting 100 out of 100, I need to reassess, revisit my assessment paper and have the mode of assessment which is in conformation with the learner level. And that is how I have to raise the bar, which is not happening in graph 1. And that is why I will not call it a good attainment analysis. Graph 3, although it has gone down, I have been able to visit it, find out what are the faults, rectify it, and then once again the graph rises. Therefore, it is good. I hope it is clear why 1, 2, and 3. Can we go on to the next slide, please? I don't think I have to read out from this slide. So,
yeah, so this is the question answers round. Audience, if you have any questions, please write it down in the chat section.
yes.
Till now, there were no questions in the chat.
I think someone is asking, is it allowed to ask questions at a more taxonomic level? So I don't know. So whatever.
Maybe at the end we can address this. Right now, if there is anything which related to the topic, please let's answer that, please.
So if there are no questions, ma'am, can we go on to the next slide? I think that is
Definitely, we can go ahead.
yeah. I think it was a very tiring session because it was too much of calculation and mathematics. So in conclusion, what do we conclude? That the OBE is basically an understanding of how you can align your course outcomes with your program objectives in such a way that it is measurable, so that you can take remedial measures in how to design your content, in how to deliver your content, and how you can assess the content which has been delivered. If you are able to do all these three things effectively, you will be able to produce the next generation or the next crop of workforce which will be skilled enough to enter the world. And it will give you a good output of student achievement. It will obviously, if you have met the primary objective of our existence is to impart our knowledge in such a way to the student community that they are able to absorb and incorporate and apply what we have learned, what we want them to learn, so that they are able to apply those learnings in the real world. And that is what is going to support us, support our parameters of excellence, and build a strong culture of quality within the institution. So, ma'am, I am nobody to take your class, ma'am. We are all together over here, but thank you for your words. Next slide, please, ma'am. So, basically, this is something which I always tell wherever I go, that let us not look at NAAC as a full stop. Let us look at 3 dots. That means it is a process rather than the end goal. So that is why your graph number 1 was not good, because it was a full stop, whereas graph number 3 was good because it was a process in continuum. So whenever it is a process in continuum, there NAAC is going to evolve. It has evolved drastically over the last 20-25 years that I have been associated with it. And every time they are like graph number 3, where they are evolving according to the times. They try to change their parameters. They bring in changes according to the needs of the nation, according to the needs of the student community, the learners, according to what we wish to have in our systems so that we can deliver it better. If we understand that, then whether we have a binary accreditation system or whether we have the maturity-based grade MBGL system, really does not matter, because we will be true to ourselves. We will uphold the parameters of academic excellence, and I'm sure if that it will be such a good measure of quality improvement as one of our best practices, that whatever the parameters are set, I'm confident that each and every one of you over here and each and every one of you, even if you are not here, will be able to achieve that. Thank you so much. I think there's a very pertinent question, that is our focus still on fulfilling processes, or have we gone into the have we truly embraced outcomes as a measure of quality? This is something for you as an educator to ponder upon and answer that question. So it does not lie in the score. Like I always say, it lies in the process. The score is not important. The process is more important. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So if we didn't have exams, the students would not have studied. We would not have understood whether the objectives which we had set for the students, whether they have been met or not, whether the outcomes have been achieved or not. And therefore, examinations are necessary. NAAC is a kind of an examination of our systems of academic parameters that we have benchmarked for our institution. It is required that, just like we wish to have 100% literacy in for all citizens of our country, we want 100% accreditation of all our institutions. So it is mandatory. So you see, what happens is, when we apply for any kind of government fundings, when our student takes our letter of recommendation and applies to any university abroad, if we want to enter into any kind of MOU or any kind of linkages, or if we want to apply for autonomy or a deemed university, if we want any kind of fundings from the government, everywhere that accreditation, if we want to introduce a new program, everywhere the accreditation parameter is very, very important. If you do not have that, it causes a lot of problems. And therefore, I think we all should move forward to it. We should not think about how we will do it. Does not matter. The first time we may or may not be good, but I'm sure the next time we will be definitely better. Let us go on to the next slide, please. So what is the difference? Basically, the difference between the old and the new system is, the old, the focus was more on what you have inputted and what is the output. But in the new system, they are also looking at the process, which is a very good thing. So both the input, output, so the focus is more on the process and the output. The criterions are as 7 earlier, but now they have broken, subdivided the 7 and made it into 10. Basically, they are the same, but some of them, because they were too elaborate, they have broken it down and made it into 10. You had the outcomes earlier. Now they were grades, but now it can be a BAF or it can be the maturity level. And PTV, generally they have kept it for the universities, but it is not mandatory for the colleges. Cycle, earlier it was 5 years, but now it has come down to 3 years. So they basically want all the new institutions which have come up, or the emerging institutions, they all want them to come under this grading parameter. Whether we call it NAAC or whether we call it a rose by any other name, still remains a rose. So therefore, accreditation is what we should look at. And it is a good thing. We understand where our fallouts are and we can take corrective measures. So it's a good thing. So I think this is the last of my slide, ma'am. So slide is, I think, yours.
All right. So thank you so much, ma'am, for this insightful and enriching webinar. And I believe this session has given us all a clear and a practical understanding of how this effective mapping between the POs and CO strengthens the OBE framework, ensuring the coherence in the curriculum design, measurable learning, and meaningful academic progression in the students. And this is exactly where the Luneblaze steps in as a partner in this journey. For over 8 years, we have been working closely with the higher education institutions, helping them bring frameworks like NEP 2020 and the outcome-based education, POPO mapping into practical outcome-driven implementation. So we offer a comprehensive end-to-end solution that simplifies every aspect of OBE, from curriculum mapping and attainment tracking to documentation, audits, and reviews. Our platform provides access to ready-to-use policy and frameworks templates, enable colleges to organize and maintain the evidence efficiently, and supports the workflow tracking for academic and administrative teams. So in addition, we host monthly training webinars, and conduct the review meetings and offer the mock audits to help the colleges stay aligned with the OBE, POCO mapping, and the expectations of the accreditation bodies like NAAC. So with a 24/7 expert support, institutions can navigate every step of their OBE journey confidently and seamlessly. So in short, Luneblaze helps colleges to move beyond compliance, building systems that make outcome-based practices meaningful, measurable, and truly transformative. So right there on your screen, we are, you have a link which can be accessed to create a free demo account on the Luneblaze portal, and you can truly explore what all we have discussed right now. So then moving ahead. So we are truly proud to share that over 50 plus higher education institutions have already been partnered with Luneblaze on their journey toward quality assurance and academic excellence. So this includes the reputed college and universities such as the India Group of Institutions, Institute of Teachers Education, CBS College of Pharmacy and Technology, Aravali Group of Institutions, CTRI Group of Institutions, and much more across India. So we generally look forward to extending the same level of commitment and support to your institutions as well, helping you all make your outcome-based education and accreditation journey structured, seamless, and impactful. So if you'd like to know more and explore how Luneblaze can support your college specifically, we'd be delighted to connect. And in the ending of the presentation, we'll share our contact numbers too with you. So now moving ahead. So again, we are done with the webinar on the COPO mapping, and coming ahead in the January also, we will be hosting the upcoming webinar for you all. So moving ahead, this is the turn for a question answers. Whosoever wish to engage with ma'am, then please feel free to add your questions in the chat section, and we are also allowing you to unmute yourselves. So please raise your hands one by one, and then we'll proceed accordingly. So we have a question. Please brief about the knowledge profiles. Yeah. So ma'am, we have a question please brief about the knowledge profiles.
What exactly is the knowledge profiles, sir?
Dr. Sheikh, you can unmute yourself and speak. Other participants, feel free to reach out. Mr. Rajesh, your hand is raised. Do you want to speak anything?
Madam, this is Dr. Abdul Sattar.
Yes, sir.
In NBA, now they are mapping the POs with knowledge profiles, WK1, WK2.
Yes, sir. That is in NBA.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir.
So, any idea about that knowledge profiles?
Sir, just now we have not received any clear-cut guidelines about having the NBA accreditation across all other colleges. So NBA was mostly for management and for technological institutes. Whether they are going to bring all other colleges under its parameter or not, we are not very sure. And neither have they come out with any such kind of guidelines. Once it comes out, we will definitely clarify on that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
One
you.
more, ma'am.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In NBA, for all engineering UG courses, the POs are common. So we are defining PSOs specifically to concern program, one or two extra beyond the POs.
Okay.
But in your mapping, you have shown COs with PSOs only. I think in non-engineering courses, all POs are defined by the concerned program coordinators, maybe with stakeholders consulting. I have doubt that.
Yes, it is always better to have different sets of PSOs, because if you remember the grid analysis which I had shown you, that's the reason why we had kept 12 PSOs in the rows. So we can understand that the content that we have designed, whether that content which we have designed is mapping across all the graduate attributes. That is the reason why it is better to have as many diverse PSOs as possible. Just try and see. The main problem is, sir, that we have grown up in an era where there was no outcome-based education. At least I have grown up in an era where there was no outcome-based education. It is a fairly new thing which has happened. So when I also studied, there was no outcome-based education at all. It was totally teacher-centric. The shift in the paradigm has happened progressively, but I will say that it has, in the last few years, it has seen a drastic change. So it will take some time for us also to redefine ourselves according to the guidelines of the outcome-based education. It is always better because the graduate attributes, there are a plenty. You cannot be just conforming to a few of them and not all of them. So just it needs a little bit of thinking out of the box, even on our sides, to see how we can achieve that. I'm sure it will happen over time. It will take some time, sir, but it is going to happen, definitely.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Mr. Gulshan, we have your hand raised. Anything to discuss? Please unmute.
Okay. Actually, ma'am, hello. I am audible.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, COs are implemented many years, and it's too much years have passed. But there is, I have data about unemployment in Haryana, only in Haryana, and 13 lakh youth enrolled for employment registries. This is unemployed. 13.98 lakh, approximately 14 lakh youth enrolled for their employment in employment exchange. Hello.
Yes, sir. Your voice was breaking in between, but I gather you were trying to ask something about what is the advantage of outcome-based education if there is so much of unemployment. Ma'am, I think he was asking something related to that, right?
Yes, ma'am. Both outcome-based education is implemented in our society, in our college and universities, and also POCU is also implemented. So why unemployment is ours in among our students? 14 lakh. In
Why is
2000,
there so much unemployment if we are doing so much of POCO mapping? Is that what you are asking?
Yes. We have implemented in many college universities. So why these data are arises? These problems.
Sir, the number that you are quoting is something which is there for some time. And what we are doing in outcome-based education, I have been through 5 cycles of NAAC in my college. And believe me, it was only in the last cycle that we had where the emphasis on outcome-based education was very much stressed. So that concept may have been there, but the implementation was not there. So only when you it for some time and allow it to show its progress, will you be able to see the result? I'm sure the results will come. Let us be hopeful. Maybe in the next 5 years, 2 years, 7 years, 8 years, but it will come.
Thank you, ma'am. So, if there are any other questions, please let us know. Dr. Prasad, I think you are trying to speak something. Mr. Rajesh, anything to discuss? So, ma'am, I believe there are no further questions, so we can proceed with winding up the session.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, just give me a moment. We have one in the chat section now. Could you give us some clarity on threshold, target, and rubrics?
Threshold, target, and rubrics. Threshold values, I think I have already discussed that those threshold values can either be fixed, variable, or hybrid. And you can adjust it according to your learner level, your content, your delivery, your assessment, and so on. The other thing which you were speaking about was rubrics. Yes, any assessment that you do, especially assessments which are related to the the highest cognitive level, especially that is your create, has to have or anything which is to do with skills needs to have very well defined rubrics. Only then will you be able to you will be able to assess it well. So your calculation of your achievement will be as near to perfect as possible. So if the rubrics are not defined, if I don't know, if I'm appearing for the exam, but I do not know on, say for example, I'm going in for a race, but I do not know whether that race will be of 100 meters or 200 meters, whether the wind direction will be on my side or will be against me, whether the people who will be running alongside me, which track will I be on, the outer track or the inner track. So these are all my rubrics when I'm running a race. So similarly, when I'm appearing for an exam, I need to know, say for example, I'm giving a presentation. I need to know which are the rubrics on which I will be marked, whether it will be on clarity or speech, whether it will be on the logical flow, whether it will be on the way the presentation is designed. So rubrics are very essential for a learner to understand how the assessment will be done. And because it is learner-centric, therefore rubrics are essential. And the last, I think, was target. Target is like your objectives. So that is set by the facilitator. I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah. So we have a question from Mr. Rajesh. He's asking what is the difference between the program outcome and program specific outcome?
Program outcome is, say, for example, in Art, Science, Commerce College, or say, for example, even in an engineering college, if it is a BE degree where I'm not specifying whether it is mechanical or civil or electrical or whatever, then it becomes a program outcome. If I specify it, it becomes a program specific outcome. Like, say, for example, if I say a BA degree in humanities is a program outcome, a BA degree in economics becomes a program specific outcome. So specifically for that program.
Mr. Rajesh, you can speak, your mic is already on.
Madam, are you getting my voice? Are you getting my
The voice is not clear, please try to speak again.
Madam, are you getting my voice?
Yes, yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Madam, what my doubt is, in the slides or presentation, Madam has given the PSOs and all. What AICTs has given, because we are running MBA also, we are running BE Computer Science and other courses. We are the university. So they have mentioned the specific outcome, mostly maximum 5 to 6. POs can be 1 to 12. So you have shown in your slides program specific outcome 1 to 12. And that matches with program what has shown with the AICT. So my doubt is, you are saying PSO, whether it is a PSO or PO.
It is a PSO, sir, and I think someone else from the engineering faculty had asked this question earlier, that we have been setting a lesser number of program outcomes and program specific outcomes or something of that sort, similar to what you are saying. See, sir, I have shown 12. You can show 4 or 5 also. It does not matter. The reason why 12 is shown is because the mapping is better. If I show 5, then the percentage automatically goes above. There can nothing be with which is low. It will always be high. I mean, very rare cases will it be medium. So how do I know how much of content I need to redesign? That's the reason why we have kept it as 12. You can keep it 10 also, you can keep it 8 also, you can keep it 6 also. But the mapping will be better if you keep it at a larger value. So if there is anything which is mapped very less, you will know, you will be able to take corrective measures. Just like in the threshold values, you can keep it fixed, no problem. But there is very little scope of improving upon it.
Okay, so we have one question in the chat section. For the non-practical based papers, the total weight to calculate final attainment should be 100 or 150.
Ma'am, that will depend upon, say, for example, suppose your semester end exams, which does not have practical, is 100. Then it will be 100. If it is 50, it will be 50. If it is 150, it will be 150. If it is with semester end exam and continuous assessments, you are giving 100 and 100 weightage, it will be 200. So it all depends upon what is your paper pattern. Is it 60, 40, 75, 25, 80, 20, 100, 100? It's up to you. It's up to your institution rather. What is it that you have decided?
So she's asking another question. Please re-explain the final difference between fixed and hybrid scenarios, because hybrid scenario must be having fixed component within itself.
Finer difference between fixed and hybrid scenarios, because hybrid scenario must be having fixed component within itself. Yes, it can have. It's a very good question. So in a hybrid, you can keep it fixed for, say, for example, see, variable is where each course is different, and each course within a particular semester is different. You can even have different parameters in one particular course for different learner levels. You can even go up to that extent. Whereas a hybrid, you can have, say, for example, you keep 40% at semester 1 and 2 first year. So all courses in semester 1 and 2 will be 40%. All courses in semester 3 and 4 will be 50%, and all courses in semester 5 and 6 will be 60%. So within that particular semester, all of them are having fixed. And you are not differentiating also between learner levels. So that is why one of the fallouts of not fallouts, I mean, one of the one of the conclusions which you can draw, which is a shoot off from your outcome-based education, is that you are able to assess the learner levels. And you can differentiate between a slow learner and a advanced learner through the variable mode of threshold values. It's not a direct outcome. It's a branched outcome. I hope, have I answered your question?
Yeah, she has acknowledged it. Any other questions?
Thank you.
So I believe there are no questions, so we can wrap up.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you all of you who have joined us.
Yeah, so finally, as we bring this session to a close, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Dr. Sreela Dasgupta for sharing such valuable insights and practical perspectives on PO/CO mapping. So, ma'am, your expertise has truly illuminated how institutions can establish clear alignment between the program outcomes and the course outcomes, ensuring the academic coherence, meaningful assessment, and measurable learning that strengthen the entire outcome-based education framework. A special word of thanks to all our participants for joining us today. Your engagement and enthusiasm have made this session truly impactful. So we hope today's discussion has given you all a greater clarity and confidence to implement the effective PO/CO mapping in your institutions with precision and purpose. So before we wrap up, it is a gentle reminder to please share your feedback through the link provided in the chat section. In case you are unable to access that, don't worry, it will be shared on the WhatsApp also. Your input will definitely help us refine these sessions and make them even more relevant to your needs. Your participation certificates will be emailed on your registered email IDs in the coming week, and the webinar recording will also be made available. Presentation will not be shared. The recording will be shared in the coming week. So at Luneblaze, we remain committed to supporting higher education institutions, whether it is on through the outcome-based education, PO/CO mapping, NEP 2020, or any other NAAC-related guidance. So we definitely look forward to partnering with you in strengthening the systems of quality, innovation, and continuous improvement on your campuses. So wishing you all, success in your all academic efforts and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you once again, everyone, for being with us today. And we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. You may please leave if you don't have any questions. Thank you.
Ma'am, with your permission, can I please exit?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.